Chat rooms. Ooh, yeah.
Close that door.
Oh, our live page, I think, doesn't have the thing up, does it? Aha. Oh, there it is. It's just down lower. Edit the page.
Ooh. Give me my look for this show. What do you think?
A little stiff.
A little awkward. I'll slowly pan in during the...
On a dolly. You got your dolly set up there.
Exactly. I just think, like, whenever you say something significant, you should slowly push in as if the camera were doing the Hollywood thing.
I would totally watch a podcast. It could be any particular subject if it was shot like a Wes Anderson film. Just
a hotel lobby.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Hey, guys, the page, refresh shots on your page, on the live page if you're out there on Game Audio.
We are live. We are live.
Coolness. One thing I've got to get in the habit of doing is running the Twitch up to the top of our live page.
Seeing as you're all really small down the bottom, would you like one of us to do the spiel for you, Kyle? You look so small and kind of lonely down there on this live feed.
Thanks for pointing that out. I've been dealing with it. It's been a real issue. I
want a 4-way split like a Brady Bunch.
I wish. I can't figure it out. But it's in time. These things will get better. Let me log into my chat, and then and I think we're ready to go.
We are always watching you, Matt.
I am starting without a scotch, I might add.
This can't be good.
No, this will go badly. So, anybody out there watching that isn't us, can you let me know if the levels are okay? Because it was a little too hot last time, and I've turned things down.
Let's ask Matt.
Freak show, says Matt Miller.
A little bit of proximity effect on your voice, which is kind of alluring, actually. So I say you keep it.
Matt says the levels are okay. Matt knows the levels.
Wait a minute. Let me see this.
Okay, Matt says we're good to go.
Vince is doing
that
something.
Explains that.
That's basic.
Let's try this.
Oh, there's a slight delay. Vince looks like he's a Madonna video from the 90s.
He's got God raised. He looks like he's in the...
I hope everybody's watching, because this is the stuff that gets cut out. Oh, magic scotch delivery. Woo!
I'm having a Groove is in the Heart flashback.
Hello.
Thanks, babe. Say hi.
Hello.
Okay, bye.
Hey, Bridget.
Come on, we gotta get the show going. Thanks for the scotch, though.
No!
Whoa, no. No.
Whoa.
No.
And that was in stereo.
I hope you guys...
Was that Goat Simulator?
Thanks, girls. Yeah.
Goat Simulator, wasn't it?
9-year-old sees a microphone, gets as close as possible, and screams.
She's got it right.
All right.
She's ready.
So I've got my spiel ready to go. You guys ready? We're getting better. We're only 4 minutes behind on this time.
Okay, let's go. You're really small, Kyle, so go right up, fill up the frame with your face.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Game Audio Hour. Number 72 is the creepy version, where we have kids in the basement. Hey, welcome to the Game Audio Hour, number 72. I said 52 when I was getting too close. This is our weekly podcast where we discuss all things game audio, from creative ideas to the latest techniques, project experiences to audio secrets. Here's where you'll find your in-depth coverage and opinions related to awesomeness. Going straight over to awesome across the pond. What's up, Alex?
I'm good. Everybody look at Vince's screen right now. I'm seeing him like frozen in this perfect double thumbs up pose.
That's the way to be frozen if you're going to be frozen.
He's stuck in Buddy Jesus mode.
If Skype is going to fail on you, this is the way to do it. Everybody take notes.
I'm going to take a screenshot really quickly so we can give it back to him later.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take a screenshot as well. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, that's brilliant, Vince.
For those of you listening at home, tough.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. So Vince froze, but hey, what's good about that is whenever he freezes, I can go to the Brady Bunch shot and just stay this way.
Here we go. This is quite nice. Yeah. So I'm well, thank you. Things are really heating up at the Vitae backroom where I'm doing some heavy-duty on-site freelance work for the last year. We are nearing the point of public announcement, but not yet, but very soon. And it's very exciting. Was that funny?
No, I just like your breakup and how you're delivering it in these short bullet point statements like it came from a marketing document.
That's right. And there's 10 reasons why my public announcement will shock you. What Alex said next will shock you. Click here for more.
10 reasons why we can't tell you anything about what we're doing, but you're going to love the hell out of it.
It's It's like rhetorical questions and bullet lists for clickbait, isn't it, Mike? You're all about clickbait, aren't you?
Good segue. Although
I
Mike,
couldn't believe what Alex just asked me, and after he did, I was brought to tears.
That's it. I left that one out. You need to have 10 reasons why I was brought to tears.
and in the end, it's only going to cost you $9.99. And act now, and we'll give you an extra add-on to the game for another $9.99.
Now, see, that's deviating into like spam territory. We're talking serious clickbait, pure clickbait.
Isn't it all the same? It's all just a new way of okay, so I'm happy Kyle today. I'm watching Mike. For those who aren't seeing the show, every time you hear that whoop whoop, that's Vince trying to get in, and all
He's pounding on the door.
And all this, yeah, he's pounding on the Skype door. And your guy, and the picture of you two shrinks and slides to the side really quickly, and then expands and comes back.
Here he comes.
Oh, here he goes. The spinny ball. There he is.
There he is.
Just in time.
So we caught you. We got a screenshot of you going like this, Vince, with your double thumbs up as you froze, just like that. So it was a beautiful Skype moment, like a Kodak moment, except with Skype.
Yeah.
I'm very thankful that something worked there. It's definitely not what was intended, but
Yeah, I
it
wonder
was
what
certainly
happened.
working.
Oh well. How you doing, buddy?
Not too bad. Can't wait for school to start up again. Gonna have another awesome semester of teaching game audio design starting about 2 weeks from now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Mike, did we ask you how you were doing?
I am doing peachily. Only one firework was launched since the last episode that I was on, so I feel the frequency is simmering down, and I think we're about to enter the long, relatively peaceful period until the next 4th of July. Or nay, I should say until the next 2 or 3 months before the 4th of July, because there's always the ramp up. But other than the helicopters and sirens and occasional screams, things have been great over here.
Yeah, speaking of that, actually, Vince was showing us just in the green room previously this new microphone he has, and I'm being led to believe that you can just sort of walk around the streets of LA and find shotgun shells just lying around. I mean, that is what it's like there in LA, isn't it? Where is it you live? Compton? No. South Central?
Straight outta.
Yeah.
Actually, what's interesting is there are parts of the U.S. you can go where you do deliberately look like sites of historical battles, like the Revolutionary War, where one of the fun things to do is to look for old bullets. So it's really embedded in our culture from a young age.
Yeah.
Old bullets. The strange land of the United States.
So the second civilization to find Los Angeles is going to be like, these guys were totally into weapons.
Weapons and Fahrenheit.
In the mean streets of Los Angeles.
Weapons,
yeah.
Fahrenheit, and the imperial system. Did you know that an inch is the king's knuckle?
Didn't we do this like 3 shows ago?
This is getting
Yeah,
dangerous.
I think we did it in the green room, though. Like, this is a foot, the king's here to here. Isn't that right? Isn't that a foot?
I'd like
That
to
makes
say
sense,
that
doesn't it, guys?
I'm
Thanks,
staying out of
imperial
this.
system.
I think it's
staying
clear
out
that
of this.
our show's demographic consists entirely of people with a lot of patience.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, many people have said, I love it when you guys just carry on, but this is the one where they're probably saying, I should have never said that.
We just
So
should
anyway,
call the
Vince-
show The Hour. That way we have more freedom and room to diverge to whatever topic we want.
We'll end up on daytime television.
Vince, this microphone. Let's stay on topic.
I like this microphone. Vince, tell us
This
about
microphone. Okay. Well, there's a guy up in New England who runs a website called 12 Gauge Microphones.
There once was a guy from
And-
New England. I was
Yeah.
doing a rhyme.
Well, nice try. But anyways, he's got these microphones that he makes out of spent 12 gauge shotgun shells.
Wow.
This is the 12 gauge green. He's got other models. The red is actually a standard microphone. It's an omnidirectional microphone made with a small electric condenser capsule. This is the green, which is really similar, except it's got the rear venting. So that turns your Omni into a cardioid.
Oh, wow.
And then he's got a couple of others, like the blue, which is made for even louder noises, for making drum kits. He's got a stereo version that actually puts two capsules in a single shotgun shell. And also, besides the novelty of having shotgun shell microphones instead of shotgun microphones, is they're really cheap. And this is kind of connected to when Watson was here a few months back, just talking about gear that is made to be used, and you don't have to worry too much about it. And I got a bunch of these shotgun shell microphones because these things only cost about $45 a piece.
Wow.
And they actually sound really good, and they have this really nice extended high frequency range. But they're not so expensive that I don't have to worry about putting them in harm's way in order to record something really cool. Or maybe actually, swing these things from the end of an XLR mic cable and see what sounds I get out of it. So I've been actually having a lot of fun putting these in weird places, moving them around, and getting some really cool sounds.
Can you just show it up to the camera? Show me the bottom. So the XLR goes right in the bottom, does it?
Yep. There is the XLR there.
Oh, wow. It actually just fits snugly in there. That's kind of coincidental, isn't it? They must have been thinking of that when they designed the shotgun.
Yeah, that's exactly what XLR stands for. It stands for shotgun microphone something.
Extreme long range. Originally a shotgun term.
I do need to ask. I need to ask the obvious question here. What is is this company actually, is it just basically the novelty of having a microphone that looks like a shotgun shell, or is there actually a technical benefit for having it in that hard metal case, perhaps? Or what's the background here?
Well, the fact that it does have this hard metal case is, I think it's just a really nice coincidence. We need casings for microphones, and they can use these, and it has the novelty factor, plus it's a really nice size. These are, this is shorter than my index finger. So
that's like what, 10 miles, is it? Sorry.
Okay, all right.
Sorry.
It's going to be like, this is about 5 centimeters. That's a really nice size. You can put that pretty much anywhere. Obviously, it's really good for doing something like putting in a mic kit or fitting it inside a piano or, somewhere that's tight. But also, I've been actually having a lot of fun just swinging these around from XLR mic cables. And they're not so much weight that I have to worry about it. And they're also really cheap, as I mentioned before. And they sound really good. Yeah, I'm not sure if they started off with the novelty or with the coincidence of it actually fitting really nicely with the XLR connector. But it's really cool to me.
And they're called 12 gauge?
Do you know if they ship overseas?
Wow, I actually don't know. But
Putting the link
here is the website. I'm just going to paste it into the channel. Oh, Game Audio, you already did that?
Boom!
Yeah,
It's so
I'm not sure exactly if they do have overseas dealers that you can get it from. They actually have an LA dealer here in West LA in Westwood, right, just south of UCLA, and I got some stuff from there. But you can also order direct from him because the dealer, Westwood Music, they didn't actually have all the models that I wanted. I wanted the greens, and they only had the reds. And so I got these greens with the cardioid pattern, ordered it from the website, got it in less than a week. And
I like the I might actually pick up because I don't use microphones very often, but I really like something really small, pretty cheap, and that sounds decent, and it's just going to last me forever. And if it happens to look like a shotgun shell, well, that's icing on the cake, I guess. But it sounds like a neat kind of little thing for just something, especially like me, if you don't record that often, just to chuck in the bag. I imagine it's pretty light. And if you've got different patterns as well, you could sort of swap them out for what you're doing if you don't record that much.
Yeah, it is really cool that he does have a whole range. So Omni, cardioid, high SPL, and a stereo mic.
Wow.
And they sound really good. I've tried them most recently actually on some voice.
Mm.
Just wanted to try, close miking some vocal. Obviously it's not going to be like your big, large diaphragm, dynamic mics like you would have in radio, but it captures the full frequency range. It's got that low end. It's got a nice high end. It's
Mm.
not so overly hyped in the middle like actually some dedicated vocal condensers that you get. This is a really good microphone that records a lot of stuff quite well.
So
Um,
the obvious. Well, I guess it's not an obvious question, but I was thinking you need to like put the microphone in a shotgun barrel and see if you can get some reverb out of that. But one at the other. Put it at the far end of a shotgun barrel and have them sing into the open hatch. Never
That-
mind.
So that sounds like a really scary image. And I would never do that because I was taught about guns when I was young, and I know that even if you have a totally safe gun, you never treat a gun as anything but a loaded weapon.
That's
So,
true. Or an echo chamber. I saw it in the paper. It said a loaded weapon or an echo
oh,
chamber.
I'm trying to be responsible here, Kyle. Come on.
School starts next week. You can wait till then.
You're gonna poke your eye out anyway.
I just want to know why the Omni version isn't delivered in a grenade. That seems much more logical.
That would
have they got
be-
a binaural version, which is like this big fat cannonball?
Yeah, or a bazooka.
You put your head in a cannonball. It's got like a place for your head. Insert head here at the bottom of the cannonball.
Wow.
No, I think it's actually really cool. It's got to be novelty, right? Because if I can't think of any time that I would use it that somebody wouldn't go, "Oh my God, look at that crazy mic!" Or why are you putting shotgun shells in a mic stand?
If it's cheap and it
Punk
sounds
bands.
very good, and there are different patterns available, and it's very small and light and extremely robust, then I reckon that's a great combination. And if it looks like a shotgun shell, well, so be it.
Yeah, country
Yeah.
bands and punk bands should have these for their vocal mics.
Yeah.
That'd be cool looking.
Yeah, you actually also hinted at another thing, with performers, when they see something that's really interesting, that can get them into the mood that you want when it comes to how they're actually supposed to treat the material you've got. Oh, you've got your studio mic, and they're like, okay, it's business as usual. And then you show up with something weird that they're going to sing in front of, and they'll have questions about it. Oh, wait a minute, what the hell? Are you really going to record this with a shotgun shell microphone? And that can get them in the right mood.
Yeah,
a good
it seems
point.
interesting. I might have to get one of you guys to pick up a few for me, and then I come and get it from you next time I'm over there. Sounds good.
Yeah, I can see you getting back on that plane flight. Hey,
Yeah,
what's all this ammo in your
That's-
suitcase?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah, I didn't think of that. Okay, scratch that idea.
It's okay. The gun's in my carry-on. Don't worry. It's all okay. I've separated. I've decoupled them.
Yep,
You're
so,
never seeing these, Alex. They won't ship them to you, and you can't take them with you. You'll have to come here and try them.
another
America.
thing which happened this week, other than Vince picking up shells and having them made into microphones and all that.
That's awesome. I'm going to get some.
This week saw the release of Reaper 5. So we're going to add in a little sprinkling of DAW talk here. So those adverse to DAW talk should...
No.
No one. Everybody loves doors.
He loves it.
Does.
He just made one comment. You're eating him alive.
And it's just...
Oh, man.
yeah. AK is a good guy.
He is, absolutely.
He's patient.
Yes.
Anyway, so Reaper 5 came out, and we've seen a lot of improvements in video, a lot of workflow improvements, as usual with Reaper, loads and loads of bugs fixed, and a new interface, which it just sort of modernizes the previous one. I mean, it's not super amazingly different, but makes it a bit more flat. Everything has to be flat these days, except for those mixer faders.
Yeah.
Just always very amusing to me. But there is now never. My English is going a bit odd these days, but there's no better time to be getting into Reaper than right now. And
Are
I
you
think I might
saying-
have mentioned last time that I watched a really interesting interview with the guy who made Reaper. So I didn't know this, but the guy who made Reaper is actually the same guy who did Winamp.
Yeah.
Wow. Are you
And
saying that now
really
is...
whipped the llama's ass then.
Sorry, I keep interrupting. I was going to say, are you saying that right now is a good time to reaper the rewards of their DAW?
That's only Mike could follow that up. Come on, Mike.
Could but won't. We've
Okay.
subjected this audience to quite enough abuse already today.
So anyway, the interview with the guy from Reaper was really interesting because it, he did Winamp, and obviously when you know that, a lot more about the way Reaper works kind of makes more sense. The fact that, like Winamp, it's ridiculously customizable. It's sort of like a functional shell, and you can kind of mold it into whatever you need. That's exactly kind of the direction that Winamp was, and that's what Reaper is as well. One really cool thing is that the guy who he used to work for, I believe it was AOL. I think Winamp was bought it was one of the big companies anyway, and he sort of went through that big, mega sort of corporate experience and came out the other end of it a better programmer, but also sort of feeling that, well, there must be more to software than just the bottom line and how much money does it make and what kind of marketing, monetization bits and pieces can we put in there. And that's what sort of prompted him to create Reaper as this sort of very purist approach to a DAW, where it's simply a functional tool, make it cheap and affordable for people to, for people to get into. A very traditional shareware approach. Here's our software, use it if you like. However, if you get good value out of it, please buy it. And it's not that expensive, it's like $60, $70. So very sort of a traditional, old school style approach to monetization. And when you see all of that in perspective, Reaper just sort of becomes even more appealing somehow, just from if you're into maybe it's just me, but I sort of like, if I'm going to devote my time, if I'm going to, for professional purposes, if I'm going to be sitting there using a piece of software all day, somehow I kind of like to feel that I'm using good stuff. And maybe it's just me, but with Reaper at least, much of the kind of funny quirks of Reaper, the fact that it's so overly customizable that when you start off with Reaper, it's like, well, what's this about? How does this work? You really need to spend some time just sort of fiddling with it and finding what. Look at that. Mike has got a huge giant cat come into his frame.
Just the perspective.
Anyway, Reaper 5, it's looking really good. It's as functional as ever.
So let me ask you.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to convert. Reaper's going to pull me away from Ableton. What are the things in Ableton that I think it's lacking, and I wonder if Reaper has it? First of all, it's lacking a giant white cat. Hello, kitty.
Say hello to the podcast.
Yeah, it's really, you know what, Carl? It's actually quite hard to sell Reaper to people, because when they first use it, it'll be like, well, this is really confusing, and I don't like this, and I don't like that. And then, of course, your answer is, well, if you don't like it, you can change it in Reaper.
Yeah.
And then their answer will be, but I'm here to write music. Why would I want to fiddle with the software when I'm here to write music? I just want to get my music down. I don't have time to sort of sit here and fiddle with this thing.
Yeah.
That's really it's kind of the same reason why somebody would ask you, what's the benefit of Linux or an open source operating system over something like Mac and PC? I'm here to work.
The difference there, though, is that Linux came out a long time ago. Reaper came in at the end of this humongous run of DAWs, really. It's the way I feel. And I wonder, is there any room for new DAW makers? I don't want to get too much in a conversation here, but I want to give them a shot, right? I don't want to miss out on a tool that's good. Just because I'm used to the old way. So I would look for surround sound capabilities, because Ableton lacks that. I would look for notation capabilities, because Ableton lacks that. Look for I like the MIDI editing in Ableton is fantastic, but after you've edited and you want to export or you want to see sheet music, it doesn't have any of that stuff. So does Reaper offer just those two, basically? No. Surround sound and sheet music?
I don't know about surround sound, but sheet music it doesn't. And I guess here's my experience with Reaper. I had, for this project that we're doing, we have like 12 characters with about 400 to 600 voice samples each. Mm-hmm. So 12 times, 500.
Wow.
Is the amount of samples that I needed to output, and I needed to do it in about 6 or 7 weeks. And as a lot of work. Mm-hmm, yeah. So I thought, well, what am I going to use to do this? and of course I want to process the voice recordings in because it's all done really, really low budget, super ghetto with my Sony M10 portable recorder.
Mm-hmm.
All the recordings sound slightly different, and it's all just like mess. It's like, what am I going to do? So the good thing, the area that Reaper really helped me is that during the process that cannot be batched, that cannot be kind of automated, it's really easy to set up your own custom workflow in Reaper. So I find that these two keys close together will be useful for doing this and doing that in succession. And then all of these clips need to be made like that, and this needs to happen like this and like that, and all of that can be easily automated. So it's sort of very, very flexible in that regard. So there's no real sort of workflow that it pushes you into. So for that kind of real industrial kind of process, I found that Reaper was extremely useful. Then, on top of that, you have all of the batch processing that it can do. All of the, so if I've got like 500 clips on one track, exporting every one of those clips so that they're all cut up into 500 different files that have been automatically named with wildcards in the naming and like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's the area where Reaper is really convenient, and now that it can be scripted very easily now too. There's sort of like a real production kind of tool for those kinds of purposes.
Yeah.
Is it going to light your fire creatively? No. That's the one thing about it. It's very utilitarian. Utilitarian. That's the word I'm looking for. Utilitarian.
Have you guys tried Reaper, Mike, Vince?
I downloaded it once and played around with it because I was vetting it for a friend who was in a very low budget scenario. And it looked like I was able to recommend it to him as basically functional DAW at a low price point, which seems to be one of its differentiating features. But I didn't spend a lot of time with it.
I mean, I still use Reaper mainly because, I don't use Reaper as a DAW all that much, but I use it pretty much every day because it is the best batch processor that I've got. I can do pretty much anything I want in terms of dealing with sound effects and dealing with voice. And
does it open projects fine? So, like, if you're working in it, I assume you're creating your sound design in some other project, in some other DAW, and then you could just.
Actually, no. I do use Reaper as my primary sound effects DAW.
Oh, okay.
So if I'm doing music, I'm doing it in Sonar, but I'm actually faster these days doing sound design in Reaper.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I guess in that case, I am using Reaper even a little more extensively than I thought.
That batch processing is pretty important. I mean, I use batch processing every day in RX because I have so many files I mess with throughout the day. And I think, are there any other DAWs that are doing any kind of batch processing? When I export in Ableton, I can export audio of each track. I don't have to just get audio from the master. And so if I'm careful with the way I organize things on the tracks, I'm actually just getting the individual sounds. Or I can export. One thing it won't do is it won't let me choose which tracks I want to export. It's got to be all of them or the master, basically. And so what I'll do is I'll have, like, say, 10 tracks of different samples, and those layered together create this sound of whatever it is that I'm doing. And I'll group those tracks together. And the sound that I'm going to use in the game is what Ableton kicks out on the group track because it's all of them together. But I also have the individual samples if I need them for something, like if I've recorded something or something I wanted to create. And that's absolutely not very convenient. I wish they had check boxes and I could just say, I want only the grouped tracks bus, or I want just the master bus. Well, I can do that, but with Reaper it was really easy because if I have, like, one person's recording will basically me turning on the microphone at the start of it and turning on the recorder at the start, turning it off at the end. So I've got like this 90-minute long, maybe not that long. It's like about a 60-minute long. 40-minute long sample, right? And in that sample is 500 little individual little cuts that I need to actually cut out into individual files. Wow.
So I have that on one track, and then I've set up just two keys to split and delete and add in sort of fade in, fade out things.
Gotcha.
And then just like clicking through it quite quickly, like a 40-minute sample to get 500 sort of individual things through that actually is pretty quick.
Do you
then
do it
you
by
just have a. Oh, sorry?
No, I apologize. Go ahead.
Then I have like a basic kind of strip that all of that goes through for the compression and equalization and de-essing and all of that kind of stuff. And then this one key command to make regions out of all 500 different clips on the track. And then another key command to render. There you have like what's called a region matrix, and you just select which ones that you want out of, and in this case it will just be all of them. And then you just render the region matrix with this kind of these wildcards in the file names.
Mm-hmm.
And there you go. And then that's it. It's all done. So that's why, for the 12 people, for all of those samples, it would have taken a lot longer if I wasn't using Reaper. But you know what? I don't, if you're happy with Ableton, I don't know, if you're happy with any DAW that you're using, Reaper is definitely not something that's going to sort of, make your workflow better if you're already happy with what you're using. That's something that is really true.
So that's kind of the answer for Matt Miller here. He's saying, I want someone to explain how a Logic user should approach Reaper.
Yeah.
One area where... Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, from the perspective of Logic, there's a little bit of automation, but never enough. So tasks like bouncing every single track to a stem are pretty narrowly constrained. I find that I have to set up elaborate workflows within Logic for tasks like that. So it might be interesting to have a secondary tool that can handle multi-track audio, but could do things like rendering or batch processing at some level. So I'm kind of curious a little bit about the functionality.
Oh, we're losing you, Mike. Unfortunately, I'm going to switch away. I think Mike's connection is slowly degrading.
All three of you freeze at the same time? Or should I just
Poor Mike. I think he thinks we froze. Hope you can hear us, Mike. You've frozen. Your picture has. Your audio is kind of on the way. Anyway, so...
How a Logic user should approach Reaper? I guess I would say that, again, I reemphasize that if you're happy with Logic and the way that it's working for you, and you're used to that workflow, I don't think that Reaper will give you any benefit.
I can't tell if I went offline or if everybody else did.
Well, poor Mike. Hey,
Mike is on Mars.
Let's wait a minute and not talk content, because I may need to edit this part out while Mike gets in there. I would hate to... Let's give him 2 seconds. Sorry, everybody. Oh, there, he dropped out. Let me switch back to our happy family view. Hey, happy family. Poor Mike. He's got to put another quarter in that payphone he uses as the internet.
I got to. I wonder if we're actually gaining that much by coming onto Skype here. Maybe we should go back to Google Hangouts.
Oh no, no way, no.
Anyway,
I want to see this through. This is going to be an awesome switch. Plus, it's easy to get to Twitch this way.
My answer would be: if you're happy with the way Logic is working for you, then Reaper will give you nothing that is going to, revolutionize the way you do things. However, if there are things in Logic that you have never been able to do because that's not the way that Logic works, that's probably the time to have a look at Reaper, because Reaper is very customizable.
So are there other softwares that you can buy that could give you the functionality that Reaper is touted for?
Well, it's not really. It's less about functionality and more about sort of customizing your workflow, I guess. Because it's so, like what the developer said is that one of his main objectives for Reaper is to make it extremely customizable.
So I have a suggestion along those lines, and I think it might be useful. If you're on a Mac and you want to customize some functionality into your DAW that doesn't exist, did you guys know, and I do this, that you can go to the system preferences. Here's a useful tip. Go to the system preferences, go to keyboard, go to shortcuts, and in shortcuts you can add... Sorry, my phone just went off. I don't know if you guys are following along, but you're in System Preferences of a Mac. You're in the Keyboard section of a Mac. You're in the Shortcuts tab within Keyboards. You have a window that has two halves. On the left half is things you can assign shortcuts to, and on the right half are the shortcuts you're going to make. So on the left half, you choose like Application, App Shortcuts, right? And once you've selected the app shortcut, on the right half below it is a plus and minus button. Hit the plus button and add the application you want to create shortcuts for. I do this with Pro Tools. And I learned this from Dave Pensato, and I didn't know it existed, which is pretty awesome. So you can go to your DAW here, And as long as the item that you want to create a shortcut for exists in the menu system of your DAW. For instance, when your DAW is up and running, along the top you've got the menu, you've got the edit, the view, the window, the help, and all that stuff. As long as the command exists in there, when you create this shortcut, you have to word the shortcut the exact same as the menu command for the DAW, and then assign it shortcut keys. So like for instance in Pro Tools, there are things that are in the menu for Pro Tools, but they don't have a shortcut key to them. One of them is hide Pro Tools. Not hide the Pro Tools like you would with an Apple H on a Mac, but it's different. I'm just using an example, maybe not the best example, but you can hide Pro Tools from their menu system. And so I assign that to key F18 or F19 or something like that. So if I'm working on a sensitive session and somebody walks in, I can just hit that key and it'll hide Pro Tools really quickly. So just a tip though that you can use if you want to add functionality, exporting, cutting, things like that, you can do it through the keyboard. Now, I'm not saying that these are as great as the Reaper thing, but it just reminded me of this functionality that I use all the time.
Yeah, the thing is, it's not just keyboard shortcuts. Like, say, for example, you prefer to have a Pro Tools style down the left side of your screen, a huge, long macro list of all the tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Or you like to have on the right-hand side a massive kind of meter of your master thing that's metering in TruePeak or that's metering in RMS or something. Or you like to have your clips view down here, and you like to have a massive transport up there, and then a video screen up there, and then your mixer under here. Or you like to have the Logic style where you've got just the currently selected channel strip over this side, and then you press a button and you've got the whole mixer down here. And that's also one of the strong points, I guess, of Reaper, is that not only keyboard shortcuts, but the actual interface itself is extremely flexible. If you want to have that Pro Tools style track list, you can. If you want to have massive meters, you can.
Yeah.
Also the channels, because that's one aspect that I'm finding a little interesting with Live. So recently, I've been playing around with the Live demo just to sort of see what it has to offer and get up just for a bit of fun. And I'm finding that mixing in Live is very, very difficult because if I'm doing stuff in the arrange view,
mm-hmm.
and then I'm squinting at these little kind of horizontal bar level meters here.
Oh, yeah.
And the little VU meter is like really tiny there over there, and it's like it's got a little bar there, and it says like minus 3.7 decibels. And I was like, what is that? It's kind of so I go back to the clip view to see the actual proper mixer that I'm kind of used to seeing.
Yeah.
Then I'm looking at the clip view and say, well, wait a moment, where are all my effects?
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to see a bird's eye view of all of the effects that I have on all of my tracks, not just select this and then see the effects down the bottom.
Yeah, Ableton tried to get around. That is definitely a weakness in Ableton. They tried to get around that by doing a dual screen thing now, so you can have the sliders on one camera or on one screen and the rest of it on the other. I use a Tascam US 2400, and so my sliders are physical. I don't really think about that stuff.
Yeah, so I think anyway, these are sort of areas where if you're having frustrations with your DAWs, not only as far as keyboard shortcuts, as you said, which do have workarounds at least on Mac OS. The interface is extremely customizable too. However, like I said, it's difficult to sell Reaper to people because if you're happy with what you're working with at the moment, there's not really a compelling reason to be jumping to Reaper. It's only really if you're really unhappy with what you're using at the moment.
Yeah, I would like to find a feature. I like that batch processing, like Mike is saying.
Yeah.
But I would like to find something where I could just drop it into some application on my Mac, and I guess it's kind of unrealistic. I know I use Rename All or something like that. We're all about trying to give people some ideas of what we use to ease up their workflow. And there's a renaming application that I can't remember what it's called. But it's like Rename All, or it's got some crazy name.
Actually, in the latest, what is it? What are we up to? Yosemite? No, what do we use now in Mac?
Yosemite.
Yeah,
Yosemite.
They have there's batch renaming now too.
Yeah, better Rename 8 is what I use for renaming files. Oh, but that's nice to know that it's built into the OS.
So for those who are wondering, I'll go ahead, Matt. Mike. I was going to say
all those M names. I was just going to mention Automator is actually a very handy tool for a lot of those tasks. And if you're willing to do a little bit of graphic pseudo programming, you can get a lot of very useful functionality, such as batch renaming according to regular expressions and stuff like that often comes up.
So what's next?
Yeah, let's move on. So I think in the in the Twitch chat room.
That's right.
By the way,
too.
people who are watching, it looks like last week we had a lot of people in the old IRC channel.
Yeah.
This week, most everybody's in the Twitch channel, so
Yeah.
that's good to see because this is being broadcast on Twitch now. So if you have a Twitch account, or even if you don't, let's try and consolidate.
No, I don't mind. I'm going to leave both channels up, whatever everybody likes.
So we're going to Chase, who goes by the very unambiguous name of Gamer Composer, as
That dude's getting a lot of work.
Chase.
That gamer composer.
Chase. Anyway, he's wondering about what games that everybody has played. What current games have you guys played recently that caught your ear and have inspired you for the projects that you're working on now? So let's have a look down this list here. We have Rocket League.
Yeah.
Vince has been playing Rocket League.
What are games? I don't get a chance to play those things very often.
It is true. It is hard to think about. Man, it takes a lot of motivation and work to actually stay up to date on current games while you're really crazy in the middle of a project.
Oh, so true. And, you know, I had a friend I used to work with who worked his butt off, Anthony Campos, and yet he still played every game that came out, knew it front to back. I have no idea how he would do that. Know who the developers are, where they're located. You know, you could have, he was an encyclopedia. I mean, he probably still is, but I have no idea how he kept up with that. He was single, you know, at the time. That probably helped. No kids. But it's so hard. I don't get to play games as often as I want to. And then the games I look forward to playing are games that I haven't been able to play. You know, like I ran out and bought them, but then got pulled away from them. And then a year later, I can finally find time to play. Okay, I've got one. It's a super fun game, kind of a modern take on Dig Dug. It's on the PS4, and you're robots, and you're digging into the ground, and it's got like a Western theme to it. Does that sound familiar to anybody? Because that's
What is this game?
it's
Does it
so
have a
much
name?
Steamworks or something like that. It's super fun. I got to find it. PS4 robot digging.
Steam World?
That's it. Steam World.
Steam World.
That's a really, really fun game. It looks great and it sounds fantastic. Whoever did that. That work. Definitely check that guy out. Steam World Dig.
I've let me just raise a point here. This has got me thinking this week. I've been playing on the PS4 an unhealthy amount of a fantastic driving game called Project Cars, and it has become my all-time favorite racing game ever. It's extremely good. Now, the interesting thing about Project Cars is that it's less of a sort of an RPG-esque style, you know, win races, earn money, buy cars style racing game. They're basically, the idea is that, well, who's going to be playing our game? Racing game fans. What do racing game fans want? They want cars and tracks. So we don't need to put in this incentive in our game of playing the game more so you can make money so you can buy more cars and tracks. We don't need to encourage them to come back because they're going to want to do that anyway because they like driving. So just give them all the cars and all the tracks straight out. And it's more like a racing toolkit than a sort of a racing game experience. There is a career mode, but all the career mode is kind of like the story mode in a fighting game. It's like a sort of a reason just to put together races with certain cars. There's like no money. There's no like earning money in races and buying stuff. You get sort of obviously leaderboard points, but there's the money aspect is completely out. Everything is available to you right from scratch. That's fantastic. So as like a racing game fan, you have everything there for you. You just go for it. And you want to pick that car and that track with these weather conditions, go for it. It's right there. So, as related to game audio, this has got me thinking, because there's one thing about the audio in Project Cars that sort of doesn't really bother me, but it got me thinking about this aspect, which could be an interesting discussion for us. That is that there's a lot of music in Project Cars. And whenever you go back to the title screen or selection screens and stuff like that, there's music playing. And I couldn't help but wonder, this might be a game that could actually benefit from less music or even no music. Because the thing is here is that Project Cars has this feeling of being it's less about immersion in the racing game experience and more about immersion in simply driving. So it's like a very sort of utilitarian sort of toolkit kind of feel. Somehow this is a game that I sort of feel could actually benefit from just purely sound effects. Like when you're looking at the title screen, it's got this sort of dramatic, like Project Sam Orchestral Essentials kind of kind of stuff playing in the background. And I'm listening to the music. The first time I played it, it's like, yeah, racing, orchestras, yeah. But now, because I've been playing it so much, like several hours every night, now it's just like, yeah, it's whatever. So I turn the music off, turn the music right down, and now when you start the game, it's like, here, this is like the racing game toolkit ready for your customization.
Nice.
Ready for your sort of. It seems to be enhanced by the lack of music. If it's sort of very it's very hard to describe the feeling of playing this racing game with no music anywhere in the game and just the sound effects. It's sort of very. It just seems to make it so much more real, because obviously when you're really in a racing situation, you don't have orchestral essentials playing in the background.
Maybe you don't.
You probably have Spitfire playing in the background.
Hey, so if you took the music, you know how they're just rock and roll songs that are perfect for driving, like they've got that perfect rhythm. Do you think that it would benefit from a more rock and roll soundtrack than orchestral soundtrack? No,
I think it would. I really think it's not so much the genre of the music or the production style of the music or even the quality of the music, because the music is excellent quality. It's not so much that. I think it's just more that, I guess this is the conversation topic that I was thinking to suggest, was that in certain games, I wonder if there is a time when actually no music is the better choice.
Yeah, I guess I'm getting off the topic there.
It's true. I mean, I'm thinking back when I was a kid, my favorite game for a good number of years, maybe a solid 3 or 4 years, was Flight Simulator 4.0. And that didn't have any music. It was just, here I was in the world of planes.
Was that the one in XL?
No. This was.
That was a slight joke.
This was well before that.
But
yes, I am familiar with the Flight Simulator Easter egg in Microsoft XL, but this was actually well before that.
Okay, it's an official game.
This was back in the DOS 3 era.
Wow.
And yeah, when you're in that world of, oh man, we got these planes, we got these airports, we have this authentic radar navigation if you want to do that. We have all these authentic flight models if you want to build a plane with the flight models that we have here. We'll let you do that. And there was definitely no music there to make you think about anything else. You didn't need to be involved or immersed any more than just this honest presentation of what this software package has got, which was everything I wanted as a boy that was developing his love for airplanes.
Nice.
That's kind of what I was trying to get at. Yeah, I think with the idea that because the game is sort of very honest in the sense that, okay, you've given us your $60, so here you go. Here's all of the work that we've been doing. Here's all of our cars. Here's all of our tracks. All of our weather. So it's all here for you. There you go. Thank you for your money. Enjoy our game. And sort of this, like, it doesn't seem to be a need for the sort of dramatization of that experience, because as a player, because I am the target user for this game because I love car games, but I don't ever really like the sort of career mode style, where you're earning money and trying to shop for cars and stuff like that.
There are so many topics within this thing, because oftentimes I don't like single-player games. Like Call of Duty, I want to just go out with friends and shoot people. I don't want to do the career mode or the mission mode or anything like that. And I always wonder, if it would benefit if they dropped half of that. Like you're saying with this car game, if they just got rid of this fakey kind of storyline to accommodate putting cars together and just give you everything and say, go have fun. And then in a similar way, I wonder if that's the same. But that's off topic. It's just another thought I had as you were talking. About as far as adding nothing to a game when it comes to audio, my opinion is... the cheap way out is to say it depends on the game. But certainly, like in a racing game, and you've got the sounds of the engine, you can't take that out. You've got to have all the sound design in there. But
yeah,
the music,
of course.
But if you had the sound of the engine and you hear it revving and you're getting into it, and it really viscerally kind of makes you feel like you're on the road, then heck yeah, who needs the music? But if I'm shooting a gun, I kind of want some sort of spy theme going on in the background if I'm trying to find somebody who's hiding and I've got a weapon.
Yeah. It definitely does. I don't think it's a cop out to say that it depends on the game, because I think that's the key point. And I think that with in this game, just to be clear, there is no music when you're racing. Of course, it's not like Need for Speed or Crazy Taxi. It's there is no music when you're racing. The music comes in when you're in like the selection screens or the inter-race screens or the title screen.
Yeah.
And if I sort of feel that, if it was me on the project, if I was a freelancer, then obviously I'd be shooting myself in the foot by saying, no, you don't need any music. But
would anybody listen to you if you said that? Wouldn't they just automatically go, no, we want music? Is there a point at which, and I know it's related to your topic, that you could actually walk up to somebody who said, we need some expertise when it comes to audio? Maybe Mike can chime in on this. We need some expertise when it comes to audio. What do you want? Rather than saying, here's our game, we need to hire somebody because we can't use John Williams music, but here are temps that are from John Williams. How does it work on which side of the equation? Have you ever run into a producer who said, what's your expert opinion? And you give it and they go, okay, that sounds good. We're going to go with that.
You mean specifically on the issue of not having music in a game?
Well, I know that the answer to that is going to be, I pretty much feel confident that I know the answer to that question. It's more along the lines of how much does your opinion weigh when they hire you to do music for something, as far as guiding the direction you think this game would benefit from musically?
In my experience, a big determining factor has been the size of the company and the extent to which the developers were beholden to a publisher for artistic input. In cases where I've worked on a mobile game where the entire team might have been 5 or 6 people, my opinion was pretty heavily valued. I made all the artistic decisions with just a little bit of input, and often I would just get a little bit of feedback in some cases, and sometimes I'd get no feedback. I'd just kind of get a big happy thumbs up. And on projects where I was working for something where there were many more strata of decision makers, big companies and big publishers, sometimes I was told, this is the approach that we want. And it was kind of a combination of some dictates from way above that trickled down and got processed through some other people's opinion, and what arrived at my doorstep, metaphorically speaking, was very confused. So I've experienced both ends of the spectrum. And I think it's also worth mentioning that with game audio, another factor comes in is, to what extent is the composer's opinion on implementation valued? Because this can really impact music just as much as the artistic decisions or the spotting where you're putting music. And I think that's a more subtle issue. And I think it's also interesting, worth discussing. Have any of you been in a situation where you delivered music, but the way the music was implemented in game didn't match what your intention was?
The massive silence.
Well, actually, no.
These are the points where you go, should I say it out loud? Or
That's right. I was just thinking that. No, absolutely not. Everything's been fantastic.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
I guess I've been pretty... I actually do remember one case where I was working on not actually a game, but it was actually an interactive media project for a large company. Like one of those multinational, big companies, not necessarily a games company, but certainly in tech. They really just wanted me as a music composer, and I had all my opinions on stuff, and they welcomed me. Well, they paid lip service to that idea of welcoming me to share those ideas with them, and they would promptly ignore them and just put stuff wherever. But yeah, for the most part, all the other companies that I've worked with, they've been, even just as a contractor, they were actually very respectful of not just the music that I was giving them, but the ideas of how this actually fits in with everything else. So
that's nice to know. How about you, Alex?
Unfortunately, I mean, the only experiences I've had, I've either been the only audio person myself. Actually, I'm fortunate to say that all the experience that I've had, I've been really the only audio person, with exception to one or two. But no, I think fortunately, most people have been fairly respectful of. I think there's sort of like at least with the people that I've worked with, there's sort of like this voodoo magic approach to thinking about game audio that, well, I don't really understand any of that. So whatever you say, that sounds good, because that's your bit. I don't really get it. And that's when at Vitae it's been really fortunate that they're really good. They give constructive feedback. They'll say that, this seems to be a bit kind of drab. It needs to sound a bit more punchy here, or that music's too loud there. But if I can give a good reason, well, the reason that music is loud there is because of this, or I did it like that intentionally because of that, then usually they'll say, oh, okay, well, yeah, I don't know anything about this audio stuff. That's you, so that's great. If that's what you think, that's great. So I've been very fortunate. I've mostly, come across these people. Most people that I've worked with sort of think that game audio is this black magic that is sort of impossible for anybody except for game audio professionals to understand, and therefore it's up to you. So I guess I've been fortunate.
So how do you get, Mike, how do you get out of it? If it starts to go wrong, how do you start to steer it? Do you let it go and say, well, ultimately it's not my decision?
Speaking personally, there have been a couple of cases, thankfully, in the past where implementation wasn't really well thought out, and I saw that things were going in a direction where music was getting looped excessively, and there wasn't enough reactivity that I had assumed there was somebody whose job it was to kind of think about audio implementation, and there didn't turn out to be such a person, and there wasn't a lot of awareness that was a thing that needed to be done. I think there was just kind of a needle drop mentality. And it was not out of negligence. It was just, this was kind of an emerging field. So there was one occasion where I actually wrote sort of an extra dev doc, and I said, here's what might be a good idea to do with making the music a little more reactive and not just having it loop continually in these situations. And I tried to break it down, but at the point where I did that, it was a little too late. You can't late in the game say, hey, here's 20 more man hours worth of programmer time. Why don't you just create a fictitious extra employee to do that as the deadline looms? So in that case, we just had to roll with it. But in subsequent projects, I've been a little more aggressive about addressing implementation early on and making sure there's an awareness of a need to think about it, so that the giant tidal wave doesn't hit people at the last minute and send their metaphorical surfboards scattering in all directions. I didn't really think through this metaphor very carefully, but anyway, you probably know what I'm saying here. So implement. If you're in a situation where there isn't a lot of awareness of the importance of implementing audio in games, which can result in excessive music, perhaps, such as the experience Alex was citing when talking about some recent games he's heard that he thought were interesting from the audio standpoint. That's my attempt to tie us back into the prior subject.
Thanks, Mike. Try
to bring it up early, and you can avoid situations such as the one Alex was describing.
And I think we've actually covered this topic before in the past. So to finish out our last 6 minutes with Alex's topic or Chase's topic of music that games that you've played recently, which you like the music in. Anybody else got any takes?
Fez.
Isn't this embarrassing that we're doing the Game Audio Hour and we can't think of a game that's recent?
Oh, man. Recent games.
Fez.
Yeah, Fez is very good. Fez is great.
Aren't we not allowed to like that game? Isn't there a rule that we're not allowed to like that?
What? Hold on. Who thought of that rule?
It's just the whininess of that whole
I know Phil
turned
Fish
me
is
off.
a polarizing fellow.
Oh, that's
that
polite.
is an excellent game.
Yeah, I've never met the guy, so I can't say anything against him. But it was probably a fantastic game. But I didn't play it because I just didn't want to. I don't know. Wasn't curious.
There was a lot of drama there.
I think the drama. I left because of I avoided it because of the drama. That's a safe thing to say. I was like, I'm not. I don't even want to know. I don't want that to exist in the game industry. But I probably missed out on a great game.
Yeah.
Fez is I've been enjoying it with my 6-year-old son. It's a great game to play with kids because it's all about this kind of this spatial. Things turning around, and it's perfect for a 6-year-old child.
Yeah, is it a puzzle game? Kind of? Would you describe it as a puzzle game?
It's a puzzling platformer. Yeah.
Yeah, puzzles and me don't get along.
I think this is one of the games that emerged at the GDC Experimental Games Workshop, if memory serves.
It's not actually. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, if it didn't actually come out of there, it's very similar to the kind of games that do come out of there, where there's some assumption about gameplay. In this case, of an assumption about 3D continuity that is usually tossed aside. They'll say, "What happens if the world rotates and suddenly it doesn't make sense given the laws of perspective?" And this was a game like that, and it's such a visual, interesting visual twist. I think it's fun to play.
It's not definitely not the first time that that's been done. That kind of stretching 3D and 2D space, but Matt's asking about Monument Valley. Yeah, that's another one that does. It's the same kind of idea. It's sort of that spatial cognition warping, which is really, as I said, is really great for a 6-year-old. Perfect for just that age. You know, when they've got a grip on everything, but it's still new and magical. And then when you switch the world around, it's like, whoa!
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Once he's done with that, you should definitely get him in on Miegakure, because that's going to really twist his mind.
What was that one called?
Miegakure. It's not. I don't think it's totally out yet. The dude's been working on it forever, but when it comes out, it's basically Fez, except instead of 2D immersions of pseudo 3D spaces, Miegakure is 3D immersions of pseudo 4-dimensional spaces.
Yeah, I think I've seen that at Tokyo Game Show.
Yeah, I think it was at a Spirit of Wonder. Night of Wonder or something.
What is it called? Spirit of Wonder Night. Yeah.
Spirit of Wonder. Yes.
Yeah. Is anybody coming out to Tokyo Game Show? It's in about 5 weeks from now.
I'll be there.
5 weeks.
No, I won't.
No way.
I've been meaning to. I really would like to, but it's just hard because it's the beginning of the school year for me.
Right.
I went once, and it was.
I'm thinking about going. Maybe I can set up a Kickstarter. Send Alex to Tokyo Game Show. Target goal. What would it be like?
4 billion yen.
$200. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you need the rail pass. Just stay in a little hotel, or do you know anyone in Tokyo?
Yeah, I know a lot of people in Tokyo, so I might be able to bunk up with some friends. But got to get the bullet train because it's not a Osaka to Tokyo. You know, it's a tiny little country, but it's a pretty far away.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. Man, actually, I have a quick question for you guys, because I'm going to be starting up school in a bit, and something that I'm always thinking about is anticipating questions that my students are going to ask me. And I know you guys, you were young once, and you had all these questions that you asked of your teachers.
Some of us are still young, Vince.
I don't know. You got a really cool beard, but it's betraying you a bit.
Yeah, it's pretty gray. So what's the questions? Oh, you want us to give Professor Vince some questions?
A lot of the questions that I get are actually based on the things that the kids love. Hey, how did they make that particular sound? So how did they make the Mega Man sound? How did they make the Metal Gear Solid sound? How do they make the Mario going into a pipe sound, or the jumping sound, and things like that? And often I'll actually have assignments that are exactly that. Hey, let's make the Mario jump sound. And then next week we'll actually discuss how you guys made it and how I made it. And it's actually really fun messing with that and showing these guys how to do some really iconic historical sound design.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Stuff like Mario was just really amazing.
Yeah.
The simple synthesis that's there.
Well, maybe we can keep this as homework for this week, everybody. So let's come up with some questions to ask Vince to warm him up for the next school term.
Yeah, next Monday. Next week is actually the first week of class, and I actually start teaching Friday of next week, so I have a little bit of time still.
Oh, good. So we can hit you on the next Monday show.
Oh, man. Or maybe you can bring the questions that are asked to our show, and we can try our own spin on them.
Ooh.
That's true. I am actually interested in wondering. I'm actually wondering what you guys would answer if someone brought these questions to you.
Can I? I used to teach a class on. I've already talked about this on subtractive synth design with Moog Voyager, and I used to teach people how to do the Pac-Man sound, the Mario sound, because they're all capable within the functionality of a Voyager.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was pretty cool. It didn't last very long. I only did it for a couple of years, but it was fun. Can I hook my Voyager into the system here and get a camera on it and see if I can make my Pac-Man sound like your Pac-Man.
Yeah, it is always fun to hear. Towards the beginning of the year, it'd be something like 25 different attempts at the Mario jump sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. It's just really interesting seeing what guys come up with and how they do it in slightly different ways.
That's awesome, man. I'm envious of you, man. That's you're shaping young minds into the awesomeness of game audio.
Totally awesome.
I think we're all getting tired. I can feel the tail end of the show coming upon us. Let's just
Well, I'm actually on an exercise bike right now, so the last hour has been rough for me.
That's how you're keeping that internet up and running. The harder you pedal.
Exactly. When I
the
got
better the
knocked
connection.
off, it's because I slacked for a second.
All right, guys. Well, it was good seeing you. I'll see you next week. And thanks, Chatty, for joining us. And please follow us on Twitch and like us on Facebook and tweet us on Twit. I can never get these right. What you like on Facebook? Honestly, you like on Facebook. You follow on Twitch? What do you do on Twitch? Do you itch on Twitch?
Itch on Twitch.
Okay, itch on Twitch. You follow on Facebook. You tweet us on.
No, you like on Facebook. You follow on Twitter. You twat on Twitch, and you. Is that all? I think that's all.
YouTube. Thumbs up on YouTube.
What about pinning it on Pinterest?
Pin us on Pinterest. we'll get a calendar together, all of us in bathing suits from the turn of the century to present day. And then you can take those pictures and put them on Pinterest. That would be it. Never mind. That's a bad idea.
Oh, no.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. Let me figure out how to stop this stream. How do I get off this crazy contraption?